Hold on to your seats, because what I'm about to reveal will shock every working person and every pensioner across the United Kingdom. What I'm about to share has not been announced on the news. It has not been discussed openly in Parliament, and it certainly has not been explained clearly to the public. But behind closed doors, deep inside Westminster offices and internal DWP meetings, something significant is unfolding. Something that could reshape your benefits, your pension, your universal credit entitlement, and ultimately the financial foundation of millions of British households. This is not speculation. This is not rumor. This comes from leaked internal papers, expert briefings, and policy drafts that show a very different future from the one you're being told publicly. Welcome to Pensioners' Power, your trusted source for everything you need to know about pensions, retirement planning, and financial wellness. Here, we cover the latest news, expert insights, and essential updates to help you maximize your retirement years. Whether it's understanding pension schemes, making the most of your savings, or staying informed about financial changes, you're in the right place. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an important update. Now, let's jump right into today's topic. While the media focuses on surface-level stories and political drama, a quiet but powerful movement is happening within the Department for Work and Pensions. A movement that points to one uncomfortable truth: the system millions rely on is being redesigned, not loudly, but quietly, strategically, and relentlessly. When Keir Starmer entered number 10, he promised stability, fairness, and a renewed commitment to supporting workers, pensioners, and vulnerable people. But as so often happens in politics, the promises made in speeches do not always match the policies being built behind the scenes. As we dig deeper into the confidential documents, meeting notes, and internal strategy papers, one thing becomes painfully clear. What's being prepared for 2025 is far less generous, far harsher, and far more transformative than the government wants the public to realize. The biggest shock emerges in the future plans for universal credit. Publicly, ministers frame the changes as necessary reforms to reduce fraud, increase efficiency, and ensure money goes to the right people. But once you peel away the polished talking points, the reality looks dramatically different. Instead of making the system kinder, more accessible, or easier for genuine claimants, the planned reforms take the opposite direction. They are building stricter conditions, tighter eligibility checks, more frequent assessments, and a harsher sanctions regime that could hit hundreds of thousands of people. The leaked proposals for the work capability assessment alone reveal a system heading toward increased reassessments and much tougher criteria. For years, people with long-term illnesses have begged the government to fix the cruel and flawed assessment process that forces sick individuals to repeatedly prove their disabilities. Instead of reforming it compassionately, the DWP appears determined to expand it. The new proposals point to assessments as frequent as every 6 or 12 months, even for conditions that are permanent or degenerative. Imagine someone living with severe arthritis, multiple sclerosis, heart disease, chronic fatigue syndrome, or a life-limiting condition being forced, twice a year, to justify why they are unable to work. Imagine the anxiety, the fear, the stress of waiting for an envelope that could decide whether you can afford food, medication, or heating. This direction isn't just administrative, it's emotional, psychological, and deeply human. But it doesn't stop there. The internal documents also show plans to increase obligations for people deemed fit for work. At present, claimants must attend job center appointments, apply for jobs, and demonstrate job-seeking efforts. But under the new proposals, the demands placed on claimants would intensify dramatically. More appointments, more evidence, more mandatory courses, and sanctions for missing even a single requirement, regardless of circumstances. That means, if a parent misses an appointment due to an unexpected school emergency, benefits could be cut. If a worker on a 0-hours contract can't leave a shift early, they could be penalized. If someone with severe anxiety or depression is unable to attend an appointment triggered by their condition, they could lose money. It is a system that prioritizes compliance over compassion. These reforms aren't only for the unemployed or for those struggling today. They redefine the safety net that every person may one day need. If you're working right now, do not assume these changes won't affect you. Life changes. Jobs disappear. Health declines. No one is immune to crisis, and the system being tightened today is the same one people will rely on if life takes an unexpected turn tomorrow. But perhaps the most unsettling developments are happening around pensioners. The assumption that pensions are untouchable, safe, secure, and politically protected is no longer guaranteed. For months, quiet discussions have been taking place inside Whitehall about reshaping pensioner benefits. Not the core state pension, at least not yet, but everything surrounding it. Winter fuel payments, cost of living support, and additional pensioner entitlements are all under review. The argument used internally is that the wealthiest pensioners do not need these benefits. But the criteria being explored are far broader than most people would expect. If these changes go ahead, millions of pensioners who spent a lifetime saving modest amounts could find themselves excluded from payments they've always received. Pensioners who own their homes but have low incomes could be pushed out. Those who were responsible, careful, and financially prudent might find that the very savings they worked for now disqualify them from assistance. Politically, this would be explosive if announced publicly all at once. That's why it isn't. These reforms are not being rolled out loudly. They are being introduced quietly, step by step, hidden within reviews, consultations, and technical policy notes that very few members of the public will ever see. But make no mistake, the intention is clear. The days of simple, automatic pensioner support may be numbered. And the direction being taken suggests that additional benefits could soon be awarded only after complex financial assessments. A particularly worrying area is the state pension age. Officially, the plan is to raise it to 67 and then 68. But internal analysis shows that the government may accelerate this timeline or push the pension age even higher. Imagine the implications. Millions of people working until 69 or even 70 before receiving the pension they believe their national insurance contributions guaranteed. For people in physically demanding roles, construction workers, carers, cleaners, warehouse staff working to 70 is not just difficult. It is, in many cases, impossible. These are people who physically deteriorate long before that age, yet the future being outlined forces them to wait longer than any previous generation. The consequences are not just financial. They are physical. They are emotional. They are societal. Increasing the pension age reduces life expectancy for the poorest workers. It widens health gaps. And it punishes those who spent decades doing the hardest jobs. What's most alarming is not just the direction of these reforms, but the method. None of this is being announced in full. It is being revealed gradually, federally, and indirectly through consultations most people never hear about. Through reports written in technical language that discourages public attention. Through changes described as minor administrative adjustments, even though their combined effect is enormous. This strategy is intentional. If everything was revealed at once, the public outcry would be immediate. But by moving quietly, inch by inch, the reforms can progress with far less resistance. The truth is, what is happening right now is nothing less than a complete philosophical shift in the welfare state. For decades, benefits were built on the idea that society has a responsibility to protect those in need, that people who fall on hard times should not fall too far, that pensioners should retire with dignity, that disabled people should be treated with respect. But the language appearing now in internal documents talks about responsibility, cost saving, productivity, and reducing dependency. These sound like harmless phrases, but in the world of welfare policy, they carry enormous weight. It is the language of tightening, of restricting, of suspicion. Welfare organizations, disability advocates, and pensioner groups are already warning that Britain is moving toward a model where receiving help is no longer a right, but a privilege granted only to those who pass increasingly narrow tests. The implications reach far beyond benefit claimants. When support becomes harder to access, communities become more fragile. When sanctions increase, desperation increases with them. When pension ages rise, health outcomes decline. And when the safety net shrinks, the entire society becomes less stable. The future that is being constructed affects everyone, whether they realize it yet or not. Because the welfare state is not just for the unemployed, the sick, or the elderly. It is for workers who may one day lose their jobs, for families who may face sudden emergencies, for people whose health may unexpectedly change. That brings us to the most important question of all. What kind of country does Britain want to be? A country where the elderly can retire with dignity? A country where disabled people are supported, not suspected? A country where a single parent facing hardship is helped, not punished? A country where the safety net exists to prevent people from falling into crisis? Or a country where support becomes a privilege reserved only for those who fit increasingly narrow criteria? The future of the UK's welfare system is being written right now, quietly, strategically, and almost silently. And unless the public pays attention, unless people understand the direction being taken, they may one day wake up to find the safety net they assumed would always be there has been replaced with something harder, smaller, and far less secure. Awareness is power. Knowledge is protection. And transparency is the only way to hold any government accountable. Thank you for watching Pensioners Power. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with others. Stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll see you in the next video with more insights on the issues that affect